Call the regular meeting of Ridgway Town Council for Wednesday, June 12, 2024 to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Councillor Scrambley.
Here.
Kroger.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Schuyler.
Here.
Scoville.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. Thank you. So, first thing on our agenda is an executive session. So I apologize, but some of you, Krista, Aaron, Robin, will have to step off for half an hour. And we'll let you back in when we're done. And while we wait for that, Paul, you want to do the citation?
Thank you, Mayor. If we could get a motion to go into executive session for the following purpose, for the purpose of receiving legal advice on a specific legal question regarding the possible purchase and or condemnation of 539 Marion Overlook, Ridgway, Colorado.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Polly, second by Russ. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
It's been a long time since we've all been here. I forgot how to do that.
Yes, we're all here. I love it. All right, so I think we're ready.
Yeah,
Great.
we'll give a second, looks like Joe dropped off.
I'll start with the script, if that's okay, Mayor.
There's Joe. Yep, go ahead.
It is June 12th and the time is 5:33 p.m. For the record, I am the town attorney. As required by the open meeting law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. Also present at this executive session are the following persons.
Preston Neal, Pam Kraft, Terry Schuyler, Ben Lakin, Josie Scoville, John Clark, Russ Meyer, Polly Kroger, and Kevin Grambley.
And Joseph Rivera with Murray Dahl is joining us as well. This is an executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice on a specific legal question regarding the possible purchase and or condemnation of a portion of property located at 539 Marion Overlook, Ridgway, Colorado. I caution each participant to confine all discussions to the stated purpose of the executive session and that no formal action may occur in the executive session. If at any point in the executive session, any participant believes that the discussion is going outside the proper scope of the executive session, please interrupt the discussion and make an objection. As the attorney for the town of Ridgway, it is my position that the executive session constitutes privileged attorney-client communication. Therefore, I am recommending that no recording be kept of this executive session.
All right, thanks, Paul. We're now back in open session. Give us a few minutes. So let's start.
Oh, no, every time I look at the clock,
Take it down.
it's.
Do you think the battery may be bad?
I don't think so. It was like right out of the pack.
Was it right?
I think I just needed.
Because that's where I said it last night.
Was the hand moving the second hand? Is it a new lock?
No.
Where you been all these years, too?
Well, I've been staring at it 5 years now.
He's gonna tell you, he does.
To see it like it's moving slower than normal.
He's gonna tell you, he's not doing what he said. The flash uses that.
Never seen that. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it now. 500 and all that. Yeah, they started building it in.
Sorry?
Sure.
I found it.
It's much better.
That's. Hey, Brad. How are you? Hey, how are you? Good. I'm not, this is for, that's for you. That's for you. Hi, everybody. Hello.
Marty,
Honey.
I like your outfit.
Oh my gosh.
Cute.
You know, fashionistas. You know?
We're fashionistas, so I just have
No doubt about it.
3 colors. I agree.
It's more confusing. Yeah, I have no pink. I joined shopping late. I was like,
Miss Jeffrey's over there.
what's wrong with me? Getting ready.
I went to, was complimented on my outfit. They basically just look like a giant color block and this boy, she just, oh, she never told it. So was he wrong?
No.
Hey, if it looks good, let it be.
He does not.
You can tell me that I'm pretty and also.
Bo, Molly and Duke say hi.
Thank you so much, Polly, for the update.
I have been meaning to like send you pictures, but we've just been like playing and had a nice time.
Are you out of
It's
town?
been
Bob?
very good.
I am. So Polly's graciously filling in.
Just a little bit.
Like you're good at it.
I
You are
try my
good.
best.
You do a great job.
We're
Sylvie was still alive. You'd be on duty. This is,
so.
all right, we should get back to work.
Oh, yeah.
We just got an executive session, and so that brings us to the start of the regular agenda. First item is, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have some. I'd like to add to the consent agenda, the renewal of the restaurant liquor license for the eatery. And number 7, I have the wrong date in there. That request is for September 14th.
Gotcha. Should have cut that.
And I have a couple too, Mayor.
Okay.
We can add an item for council to consider promulgating voluntary water restrictions pursuant to the town's water and conservation management. Last item on the agenda would be fine.
21, or no, 26.
6.
27.
27. Let's do it before the
Consent
time.
agenda.
Okay.
And then if you all wouldn't mind moving item 11, introduction of Brandon Hansler as a new deputy to the first item after public comment, that would be very nice.
We can do that. All right, so that takes us to the adoption of the consent calendar, which is items that we think we can take care of in one fell swoop. If there was anything on there anybody wants to pull off, please say so. If not, is there a motion? So moved. Second. Motion made by Russ, second by Terry. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Well, I love it when all in person. This brings us to public comments. This is established time on the agenda for anyone to address council for anything that's not otherwise on the agenda. Anybody here to do that? Doesn't look like it. Anybody on Zoom? Give me a couple seconds. Everyone's coming back in. Nobody's got their hand up on Zoom, but if you are having trouble raising your hand, feel free to just unmute and address us, but seeing none, I will move on. That takes us to public requests and presentations. The first one is item number 7, which we just mentioned, request to block Clinton Street. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Thank you. We want to introduce item number 11. We want to introduce the new deputy marshal, Brandon Haslett. Take it away, Shane.
Welcome, Brandon. He was formerly with Montrose County for 8 years. And then he got out of law enforcement for a little while, went to work for UPS. He now very graciously get to go to work for us. He has to get through one more test next week, which is to renew his post certification. It lapsed a little bit. But once he's through that, we'll get to get him into training and on the road. He brings a lot of experience in school resource officer. He was in the Olathe and Oak Grove School down in Montrose for several years. And so that'll be really beneficial to us to work closer with the schools. So, welcome, Brandon.
Thanks for stepping up.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it.
Any questions?
Welcome aboard. Anybody got questions for Brandon?
No questions. I was stoked to see the involvement with the schools, so that's great. I think you'll be a good fit. That's awesome. Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Welcome aboard. All right. Thanks for the reminder on that. That takes us back to item number 7, request to block Clinton Street and Lower Decor Street for celebration of life of our dear friend Patrick O'Leary, September 14, 2024, which will be based on the Sugar Mill. You want to tell us about your plans, Marty? Or come
Well,
on up. And-
okay.
If you don't have
Plans are still evolving.
anything.
Okay, all I
To
know
whatever
is,
extent you want.
okay, so I'm calling it Celebrating Pat. And pick the date. I heard maybe Blues and Bruises then, but something, but this is way more important. And I got permission with Pam's help to have from Laura to Cora, or Cora to whatever it is, to be blocked off. So it's gonna be starting at the Charbonneau. And we're going to have, I can't remember if it's going to be part of the celebration or it's going to be a Charbonneau event, but they acquired a 3-piece true Irish band.
Oh, it's fun.
So we're going to have a big ass block party. And he always said he wanted a party, so that's all I know. And I think there may be a side fundraiser for the Charbonneau with the Patrick O'Leary candles, like church. Yeah, do that.
St. Pat.
St. Pat. And other than that, that's all I know. And I hope everybody comes, and I've got lots of people coming for that event, so hopefully the hotels will be filled and the restaurants will be filled. Because I won't have any room, my house is gonna be in the condo. But that's all I know, but thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So what's before you is approval of closing those rates.
Yeah.
I move that we approve the closing of Laura Decor Street for the celebration of life for Patrick O'Leary on September 14th, 2024.
Seconded.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Of course not. There we go. That takes us to item number 8, proclamation recognizing the Erie Mountain Rescue Team's 50th anniversary. Okay, 50th.
You're kidding.
Oh,
You guys are amazing.
Bill was just out of high school.
Grant was even born.
Well, that's. Well, we have Jenny Hart's name on this, but we have neither of you is Jenny Hart. I mean, that's
I think I got nominated to accept that as of about 25 minutes ago.
okay. All right.
Grant, please.
Thanks for being here, Grant. Anything you want to share? I mean, you don't need to, but
Well, thanks a ton, guys. We appreciate the municipalities getting behind us. It's
absolutely,
nice to have a friendly relationship here, so.
absolutely. We value the mountain rescue team to no end. I made a bunch of calls today because I'm going to be gone this weekend, but just, I mean, I'm in awe of what the mountain rescue has accomplished in 50 years and all you've done for the community. It's just amazing. And I wish I could be here, but please share my gratitude with the whole team on Saturday.
Like you say, it's a two-way street because the community support has allowed us to become superbly equipped, financially stable. We used to have to borrow money to put on, from Dave Wood, to put on our pancake breakfast on July 4th. And now we're economically stable, and that's because of amazing community support.
That's awesome. Think you want to add, Bill?
I could add a lot.
Shocker.
A lot of years, 30 some years, but we'll build well. We used to use our own equipment. There was no equipment that we got. What was it? One from the Duray sheriff hand me down. The Mary E was an old ambulance. I think by
I remember Mary.
we used that for a little bit. And then it was our own lines, our own equipment. And where those victims live.
Well, we have a proclamation in our packet. I don't know, you guys want me to read it or? I probably don't need to. I just, once again, just want to say,
How about the now therefore part?
Yeah.
yeah, so now therefore be it proclaimed by the Ridgway Town Council, the town of Ridgway expresses our deepest gratitude and unwavering support for the invaluable contributions of the Erie Mountain Rescue Team by recognizing the 50th anniversary of the team. Ridgway Town Council urges all residents and visitors to recognize the vital role these volunteers play in our community by extending support to donations, encouragement, and volunteerism where possible. Together, we can honor their commitment by promoting safety awareness, responsible recreation practices, and mutual aid in times of crisis. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, guys. Nice work. Here's the next 50 years. All right, that takes us to item number 9, proclamation declaring June as Immigrant Heritage Month. We have Lauren Knob from Tri-County Health on this. I don't know if Lauren's, I see Tri-County Health on Zoom. Is that you, Lauren?
Good evening. No, Lauren's not able to make it. I'm Tabassum Siddiqui.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm the Multicultural Advocacy and Policy Manager at Tri-County, and I serve San Miguel and Delta County.
Welcome. So we
Thank
have proclamation declaring June as Immigrant Heritage Month, as I said. Is there anything you want to add about that?
I don't know if you would like to read it yourself out loud, or I could read it out loud.
Feel free to read it.
Okay, so this is the proclamation declaring the month of June Immigrant Heritage Month. Whereas regardless of the immigration status, every human being has an inherent birthright to safety, food, and shelter. And whereas we join people around the globe in commemorating World Refugee Day, a day when we recognize, honor, and uplift the strength, courage, and humanity of millions forced to flee violence, persecution, war. And whereas the city of Ridgway honors the dignity of all city residents, regardless of nationality, and recognizes the importance of their many contributions to the social, cultural, and economic life of the city. And whereas discrimination, racism have profound impacts on immigrant communities, leading to trauma, exploitation, and fear. And whereas dehumanization and objectification perpetuate harm and marginalization. And whereas during National Immigrant Heritage Month, we recognize and celebrate the history and achievement of immigrant communities throughout the nation and within our local community. And whereas immigrants have been tireless leaders, not only in securing their own rights and access to equal opportunity, but have also campaigned to create a fair and more just society for all Americans. And whereas immigration enhances the town of Ridgway's cultural diversity, adding a variety of abilities, perspectives, language, customs, traditions, values, and cuisines that benefit the residents of our city. Now there we call upon the town of Ridgway to hereby proclaim June 2024 as Immigrant Heritage Month and call this observance to attention of all of our citizens and encourage them to learn more about the social and economic impact of immigrants in our community and state.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Marty.
How is that integrated into Ridgway? I mean, are there special events or things that one would go to or know about that integration that you were talking about, for the public to know about? Is there, outside of what you just stated?
I'm sorry, can you repeat? I couldn't hear you. There's kind of like an echo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
What I'm curious about, I understand the heritage thing. Are there programs that are available to people in Ridgway that they can attend? And is it publicly known? I've never been to one. I think it's a good thing to know about. I'd like to know more about it. So could you tell me what would be available to someone like me?
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. So at Tri-County, we have on our Instagram and on our website, we have a month of activities this month. So tomorrow, for example, and we do it across different counties. So we don't particularly have something in Ridgway, but we have some in neighboring counties. So for example, in Delta, the public library tomorrow, we're doing a screening of a film about a family seeking asylum. It's a documentary film. We have a conversation, a community dinner. Next week, we have a few more events. We have another festival in the Delta Public Library next Saturday from 10 to 3. It's open to the public, and it's just a day full of activities. And then at the end of this month in Telluride in the town park on the 29th, we have a community party where a lot of organizations are coming together to celebrate different diverse cultures that are in our community. So we try to have something in each of the communities, or at least close enough. And of course, you can always reach out to me. We have regular programming monthly, and you can participate in any of those as well.
Thank you.
Is the calendar of these events on the Tri-County website, or how would the general person know to look for these?
It's on the Tri-County website, our social media. We also post things to community calendars in the local paper. We also do grassroots flyering. So I try to, when I'm in Ridgway, I try to flyer in different locations. And we on the radio shows, and we do a lot of outreach. We do the best we can to get the word out. We cover 6 counties, so it's a wide expanse of area that we have to cover, but we do our best.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. And appreciate you being here to read the proclamation, and I would ask for someone to make a motion to heartily approve this proclamation.
I move to approve the proclamation declaring June 2024 as Immigrant Heritage.
Second. A motion made by Russ, seconded by Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
David?
Can we get a copy of the proclamation?
Sure.
We have a tradition of having our monthly meeting on the second Wednesday night, so we've got a scoop.
Okay. We will, if you need a printed version of it, we'll probably have to get it to you. I don't know
Okay.
if you have that handy, Pam, or
It's also available on the town website.
I will be signing that right after the meeting's over. Get you.
We'll send you the bill.
Thank you.
And if you got a scoop, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. All righty, that takes us to another proclamation. Number 10, proclamation declaring June as Dark Sky Month. See, Val just came in, so come on up, Val.
Good evening. So on behalf of Dark Sky Committee of Rock, is that I'm here to request a proclamation made by the Town Council of Ridgway. And I think some of you may know that our Governor Polis made a proclamation for June for all of the state of Colorado. And so I thought that since Ridgway is one of Colorado's dark sky gems, as I pointed out here in our event here at the end of April at the Decker Room, thought it'd be fitting for Ridgway, the town of Ridgway, to complement the state's efforts and to make a similar proclamation. So, any questions? Or I do have, let's see, I do have some new brochures from Colorado chapter of Dark Sky International. One is pretty much an overview of the benefits of preserving the dark skies and some of the things that some of the key principles to protect that resource. And then also the local chapter in Colorado produced a little postcard for campers. I think it's probably geared towards more for campers like at Ridgway State Park or whatever, that you could drive up an RV. Talks about camping etiquette. And so I'd be happy to make a couple copies available to the town, to Preston, to make available to the folks. Is I also provided a couple copies, or maybe a dozen or so, to the Ridgway Area Chamber of Commerce here last week. And so Ashley is telling me that she does get quite a bit of questions about dark skies here in Ridgway. So
Great.
Any questions?
we have questions for Val? We all know the value that the community puts on the dark skies, and I love that we do this every year, and it helps gain our check marks for our recertification every year.
That's right.
So it's all good stuff, and we appreciate all the effort you put into doing this stuff on behalf of the town, so.
Very much so. Thanks.
Yeah. So, again, I'll ask for somebody to make a
I'll
motion.
move to approve the proclamation proclaiming the month of June 2024 as Dark Sky Month.
Seconded.
All right, motion made by Terry, seconded by Russ, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Val.
Thank you, sure.
Thanks, Val. Good to see you.
All right, that takes us to public hearings. Item number 12 is application for restaurant liquor license. Applicant Fuego Hospitality Company LLC, sole member Marco Leary DBA, the Hearth, location 185 New Canaan. Pam.
So we received an application for a restaurant license from Fuego Hospitality. The sole member is Martha O'Leary. The premises are shown as 185 North Lena Street and would include units 100, 101, 107 along the north patio area and the sidewalk along North Lena Street. That is an item that will be up on the agenda later to approve the right-of-way use to place tables out in front of that area. The trade name of the business is The Hearth. And this application has been filed as a concurrent review with the state of Colorado, which means that the applicant, if approved tonight, would be able to receive a temporary permit to allow the purchase of alcohol for sale prior to receipt of the state license. So that's what we're seeking tonight.
Okay, great. Anything you want to add?
I'm getting fingerprinted in Montrose tonight. Fingerprints, one in your ring, one in Montrose, just saying.
So when it's all the different units, Marty, is that all the different areas that will be part of the restaurant, or
Yes.
is that?
Yeah, there's an outdoor event center, indoor event center, and then the restaurant itself, so it's three.
Got it.
And they're all in the Fuego Hospitality.
Looks like it's coming along.
Yes, sir.
It's the hardest part, the last little.
Yeah. You know, punch list this and punch list that. Yeah. It's all good.
We're excited to see it.
So am I.
Anybody have any questions for Marty or Pam about this?
I know, we're all waiting to sit at that bar.
I bumped my head and
I'm excited.
looked at the kitchen and stuff.
Oh, the kitchen's amazing. I stay away from that because I'm gonna have my own chef, so when I live on the third floor.
Are you giving tours?
Am I giving tours?
I mean,
personally?
can I swing by and?
Christine, can we?
It's a minor donation, of course. It's available to anybody. I gotta pay for this somehow. Joe, do you have anything to add, or Robin? Anyhow, so that
I don't, Marty.
okay, Joe, thank you for listening.
My pleasure.
So I'll move to approve the application for a restaurant liquor license from Hearth.
Seconded.
Yay, thank you.
Motion made by Russ, seconded by Polly, all in favor?
Bye. Thank
Any
you.
opposed? There you go.
Thanks, Marty.
All right, that takes us to item number 13, extension request to meet conditions of approval for River Park Ridgway Business Park filing 3 preliminary plat. Location River Park Ridgway Business filing Park filing 1 replat of blocks 2, 8, and alley A, outline PC/3-R2, address to be determined, zone light industrial LI, owner Ridgway Triangle LLC. Preston, is that your name on it?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So, forgive me, I'm gonna do a lot of reading here, but I think it's important because there's a lot of background, a lot of context to provide for this. And I will remind, this is a public hearing, so I'll give the staff presentation, the staff side of the presentation before we turn it over to the applicant. And they'll be here to not only talk to the request, but give updates on what they have going on here shortly. So Ridgway Triangle LLC, the relatively new owner of the parcel and applicant, is requesting an extension of the approved preliminary plat for River Park Ridgway Business Park Plan Unit Development as it relates to filing 3 plan blocks 9 to 12 of the industrial park. This same request for extension was made in 2010, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 2022. So this is the 8th request for extension. Town council previously determined the criteria were met and granted all prior requests for a 2-year timeframe, 2-year extension timeframe each time. The PUD comprises approximately 141 acres and is situated at the north central area of the municipal boundary, just south of the secondary school. River Park PUD consists of medium density, single family housing, low density, multifamily residences, industrial, commercial properties, open space, trail network, pretty comprehensive there. The findings and decision approving the preliminary plat for the PUD was issued, approved and issued by the town council in 2021. Since then, the developer has returned to the town and received final plat approvals on filing 1, filing 2, the 2001 preliminary plat configuration for filing 3 consists of blocks 9, 10, 11, and 12 with associated roads, infrastructure, and easements, and has not yet been final platted. In other words, it has an approved plan, but there is remaining infrastructure to be completed. So it legally remains a single parcel for the time being instead of the planned blocks and lots. So in 2008, a replat of block 8 and a small portion of block 2 was approved by council. It was determined that the replat better aligned with the revised replat of filing 3 and also required a few adjustments to filing. So again, this is the 8th request for extension of a previously approved and subsequently amended preliminary development plat. Each request resulted in an extension for 2 years, as I was saying. The current request is for another 2 years, would extend the plat of the preliminary plat approval to 2026. So July 8th of 2026. The recommendation from staff is that any approval should be subject to all the prior conditions of the initial approval and other requirements associated with the PUD. And just as a reminder, the municipal code allows for an extension of a preliminary plat, which is done a number of times for a number of different developments for good cause, and it allows the town council the discretion to grant additional time to meet conditions. So I do want to note the applicant developer will talk to this. I think my understanding is the property changed hands in I think it was September of 2022. Ridgway Light Industrial LLC was the previous owner. Ridgway Triangle LLC is the new owner, relatively new. Property owner and development team have been working pretty hard to update the engineering plans to meet and all the other associated documents to meet the town's current standards. It's taken a lot of work to get to this point. There's still some work to be done before the developer will get on site and start that infrastructure work. Pre-construction meeting was held actually yesterday to get them off on the right foot. We're anticipating an early July, give or take, start date for them to build out North Laura Street from Auto Street to Railroad Street, in addition to all the other infrastructure necessary to support the parcels we're talking about. So with that, I know that's a lot of information. Sorry for reading. This is a public hearing again. That concludes the staff portion of the presentation. The applicant is here to talk on their behalf. Great, thanks, Preston. Jack, you got anything you want to add?
Jack Petroselli, 540 Marion Overlook. I'm here representing Triangle LLC, and I'm not an owner, just an agent working for them. So we bought the property about 1.5 years ago from the Paul's family, and have been working diligently with staff to bring a 20-year-old plat, 20-plus-year-old plat to current requirements, and it's been a bear. But we had a fabulous meeting yesterday with staff. Staff virtually turned us loose. We have some tidying up to do on our material list and stuff like that, but we're expecting to break ground by July 1 and hopefully pave in October. So we're asking for a 2-year extension because that's what's been done before, and we don't think we're going to need it. But with the recent COVID and what had happened that way, we thought we should ask for 2 years. So we're real excited about this. We've put all of our energy into this now for over a year, working with staff, and we're contemplating building a much different project than was originally platted, and we're real proud of it. So we'd like the extension so that we can then once we build the road, then we'll be back in front of you for final plat. So this is a pretty unconsequential request here. The next one will get baited. So, any questions for me?
Any questions for either Jack or staff? Not here.
Thank you.
Because this is a public hearing, I need to open this up for public comment. Anybody either here in the room or on Zoom have any comments to make? I see Jake's hand is up. Go ahead, Jake.
Hi, speaking as a Ridgway resident, I just wanted to comment on the proposed connection or extension of Laura Street, and want town council to consider how this would change the traffic pattern to cater to cars and heavier truck traffic into the industrial area. Right now, all of that is funneled onto Railroad, and that goes around a little bit on Roundhouse, but you've got that cul-de-sac on Cora Street that cuts you off at Auto. And I think that's a really good way to encourage people to walk and bike and to have a primary truck route. Concerns that North Laura Street, where it intersects with Auto right at the Wetterhorn subdivision, isn't a full width street, and directing more of that industrial traffic onto that street, considering that there are families and kids living there, presents a risk. And so I would just like town to consider whether they want to prioritize more car and vehicle infrastructure, or if they want to prioritize safety and a walkable town, and to perhaps consider not connecting North Laura to Railroad and instead doing something that looks like North Cora between Roundhouse and Auto Street with the cul-de-sac.
All right, thank you, Jake. Anyone else? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period and bring it back up here for us to deliberate. I will say from my perspective, as somebody who's been involved since the beginning of this project, we were aware that Laura Street was going to be an issue the whole time, that half right away next to Wetterhorn and then continuing on next to the mini storage there is definitely an issue. And even if we did have that full right away, Jake makes a good point about the potential impact on traffic on Laura Street and through the residential area to the south. But I think that the time to deal with that is probably at Fine Corner.
So that's a question I had. Does extending the plat preclude us from further looking into that issue?
Well, but isn't final plat issue once things are built, John? So wouldn't
Well,
now be the,
yeah, that's true.
so wouldn't now be the time to have that discussion?
I think we're also in a town, and connecting streets of different neighborhoods is inherently bad, and I don't think having a thoroughfare there makes the town not walkable. I mean, I live on Moffett Street where there's lots of traffic and it's still a very walkable street.
I've always thought that the way we would deal with it would be the traffic calming devices and things like that. To my way of thinking, I don't think we've ever discussed actually closing off part of Laura Street. If we want to have that discussion.
I mean, I think we did put a significant chunk in there, and I have been really struck by how neat it feels to have kids out riding their bikes, it went from a neighborhood of single childless people that was really pretty quiet, and there might be a few vehicles parked while your friend is out like dirt bagging somewhere. But like, it's really come alive. It is, and it feels really rough. And I obviously am biased as a homeowner right there to switch to truck traffic.
But it's not just truck traffic. I think most truck traffic will still, but I think truck traffic will stay mostly on the Railroad Street because of just the ease of getting in and out. I mean, I think anyone who's hung out in River Park and anyone who's hung out in Old Town Center, we all have connected thoroughfare streets, and it's still kids playing, riding bikes, doing whatever, right?
And I would anticipate we'll probably have some signage and some restrictions on truck traffic and make them safe.
It's the most direct route to the school then.
That's, we've always known that the school traffic would be an issue. Dwayne, you had your hand up?
I just want to point out that
Trying to get my.
Yeah.
The mic, so. Oh, please.
And actually, I guess formally.
I'm not sure I can.
Oh, yeah, actually.
What's that?
Uh,
I was gonna go ahead and reopen public comments so that our town engineer can make a comment. Go ahead.
When we originally laid out River Park and put the industrial park into it, the intent was that we were going to have more than one access into the industrial park that went through to the highway. And that was part of the overall traffic management plan when we did the original back in the late 90s. That was all I was to say.
There's history there.
Good point.
Go ahead, Jack. Since we're still.
I think, it's always been a plan. I served on the, transportation plan, 10 years ago or so, and Lower Street's always gonna be a significant street in town, but now that they got a reduced width for a few blocks, as a citizen, would think it would be appropriate to not encourage truck traffic there or limit truck traffic through those 2 blocks. And I don't think that would be hard to do. When it's a full width street, it's gonna be a significant street. And we'll probably carry truck, and it will be the primary street to the high school until railroad connects to County Road 5. And that's always been planned, but while it's a reduced width street, we don't have any problem with reducing truck traffic there. And we've even worked with staff about talking about one way, and that didn't work out. Staff didn't like one way, but we've really worked through that process. So limiting trucks would not be opposed. We wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okay.
Anybody else have comment while I have public comment reopened? Hearing that, I will close public comment again. Preston, help me out here. This is kind of a little unprecedented. We got a preliminary plat that's very old and been granted an extension many times. If council wanted to reconsider the traffic pattern, what would be the process?
No, that's a good question, and may lean on Bo a little bit, given the, the quasi judicial nature of the request and the application itself, but I think it would require revisiting. Require probably a number of conversations, discussions at the town council level, maybe beyond, about traffic management plan. And that's where my mind goes initially, but I think for purposes of right now, we will need to decide whether or not the criteria is met for the extension request to extend the preliminary plat approval with the conditions that were originally set.
So briefly, just to echo on what Mr. Neal indicated, his line of thinking is spot on, in my opinion. If there were to be discussions with respect to amending the traffic pattern or other conditions, that would be a separate conversation and outside the request for this evening. And so I guess the one thing that I would throw out there is if there is a desire from the council to evaluate some of the conditions, existing conditions on the plat, maybe you want to consider a smaller extension time frame and give direction for staff to work with the applicant to take a look at some of the concerns that have been raised this evening.
Okay, thanks, Bo. Thanks, Preston. What do we think?
I'm comfortable approving as is. Everyone else thinks.
I think there's a real value in connecting North Florida, and I know that I might be in the minority. I think there are creative solutions that we can come up with. We don't have to open this up to full-on drag strip through town. Which in time, of course, that's a double wide street, it's eventually going to go that way. But it doesn't have to be that way in the immediate future. There is value to that connection. There's a lot of people in River Park, there's a lot of people on the north side of town. Terry's talked about the left turns coming down Railroad Street. Yeah, we've talked about this. We talked about it quite a bit. I'm okay with approving this now.
I will raise though that if this was developed and this traffic management plan was developed in 2001, when I was a sophomore in high school, significant things have changed about Ridgway, and I just want to make sure that we're acknowledging, some of our ideas around, character and our master plan ideas, and yes, connections are important, but just to make sure that we actually have an opportunity here for a checkpoint to stop and decide, is this actually what we want to do? That we think about it. Because 10 2-year extensions later, are we in the same place?
I think having 2 ways to access that entire north end of town is actually important. I think right now it's very bottlenecked, and as the traffic has been increasing, we all know what a mess it is to get in and out on Railroad Street there. And having 2 options, I think, is actually gonna increase safety for just the sheer amount of traffic that's gonna take down some of the traffic.
And a lot of our traffic problem isn't necessarily caused by our traffic on Railroad, it's caused by traffic on 62, which still makes a left-hand turn off Laura Street.
Yep.
Problematic too.
Yeah, this is.
That's separate from this stuff.
Yeah, this is a sticky one. I don't think that connecting Laura Street goes against our emphasis on walkability. I think, my feeling has always been what we need to do is make sure we have as many things that, discourage vehicle use and encourage walking and bicycle. And connecting Laura Street through, and as somebody who's ridden through the sagebrush out there for years on my bicycle, it'd be a nice way to be able to get to the other side of town on my bike. And I do think that in this day and age, the way you address these kinds of things is with traffic calming devices. And so I don't know, I guess I
also want to do some signage to route truck traffic a different way, or potentially at least not through that weather horn area.
Yep, I think,
Jack said they were open to that.
I think the tricky thing will be that Auto Street is how a lot of trucks access the industrial park now. And we probably need to let them go all the way through on Auto to Laura, and that'll be on one side of it. But again, I think that can be dealt with. It's just one additional block. I did close public hearing, so public comment. Other thoughts, other comments?
Darryl, can I offer something? This is not the first time, at least in the last 3 years, something like that, but this is not the first time that this has come up. We've talked about Laura Street a couple times at least, and staff has heard loud and clear that, as you were just talking about, traffic calming measures, devices, signage is going to be imperative once it's built out. I say that not just in the manager role, but I live right there too. My kids are the ones riding the bikes. So we recognize the importance of that. One of the best traffic calming measures, in my opinion, is the fact that the width of the right of way between Frederick and Otto is currently half right now, which in and of itself will deter large truck traffic. That's my opinion. But at the end of the day, staff reads you loud and clear, and we'll be able to deploy when the right time comes, all that stuff that I just mentioned, that we were just talking about. So I just thought I'd offer that.
Well, in light of what Bo mentioned, I think it's sufficient, are we ready for a motion?
Sure.
That based on the ability to revisit this and some of these mitigating measures that have already been discussed, I'll move to approve the request for extension of River Park Ridgway Business Park filing through preliminary plat through, is it July 8th, 2026? Is that the-
Yeah. Second. All right, motion made by Terry, seconded by Russ. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We're open to working on that, so, great, we'll deal with it final time, I think we can figure it out.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, takes us to item number 14. Another public hearing, emergency ordinance number 01-2024, amending the franchise granted to San Miguel Power Association Incorporated to operate an electric power utility within the town of Ridgway. Bo, you got your name on this one?
Thank you, Mayor. With respect to this proposed franchise agreement, this is something that piggybacks on what was approved by the council in October of 23. Unfortunately, due to, I guess, maybe ships passing in the night, there was concern which was raised by SMPA with some of the language on the approved ordinance, particularly with respect to the cost sharing allocation or responsibility in the event there's a demand to bury power lines. And so Jim Link, who represents SMPA, took a second or hard look at the approved ordinance from 2023 and raised concerns based on, as the council members know, there's kind of parity, or their goal is to have parity with respect to the number of jurisdictions that participate. And so to the extent that there could be a drive from the town to require SMPA to bury power lines at their cost, that could create a difficult situation for other users within the jurisdiction. So the goal is to update the existing ordinance with the enclosed provision.
All right, thanks, Bo. Any questions for Bo or other staff?
Yeah, I can weigh in just from my previous role at SMPA that
Why don't we, since this is a public hearing and we have to kind of follow the process, we'll ask if anybody has questions first, then we can let you weigh in when we're deliberating. So any questions for staff or Bo about this? No? Okay. And Bo, is there anybody representing San Miguel on this?
I don't. So Jim Link is who we've been working with, and Jim signed off on the latest update to the ordinance.
Well, then I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody, either in the audience on Zoom or Joanne here in the room, want to give some comment on this?
I don't have a problem with the undergrounding part, with the relocation of a pole when it's in our way for doing some kind of construction on our right of way. Seems like we shouldn't have to take that out of our funds. But that's my 2 cents, and we've mostly had that in the franchise in the past.
Interesting. Yeah.
So
okay.
Preston says it wasn't in the last one, and I remember there was some discussion about that last time, but most of the towns do get, if we let them know in advance that we need somebody moved for infrastructure, it doesn't come out of our franchise.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it should have to. Thanks, Joanne. Any other public comment? All right, I will before I close it, I want to ask Bo if you were aware of that discrepancy that Joanne just pointed out.
Yeah, so I can, appreciate it. And if we need to go back to them, we can. I can just go based on the representations and comparing some of the ordinance language for other jurisdictions within SMPA's service territory, which has the same language, and that was their point in terms of asking for parity. Admittedly, did I go through every jurisdiction? No, I did not. But I took a look at a handful of them, and the language seemed to match what was there.
Okay, thank you. So in deliberating up here on this item, Terry offered to give us some background. I don't know. Well, is it appropriate for Terry to give us background based on his formal employment at San Miguel Power?
So yes, I think he should disclose that role, both with respect to this discussion and then in any vote. And if he feels like there's a conflict, he should pursue that. So, or disclose that rather.
I'll modify my representation as a former employee of SMPA, but also as a member of SMPA, which we all are. My understanding of basic policy from the nonprofit perspective and the parity perspective is a common a rule that they abide by are cost causers or cost payers, meaning that if something requires a significant cost that is then burdened by the entire membership, but it only benefits a particular member or a community, that they attempt to make the cost causer the cost payer. So it's kind of just a generic, separate from the specific issue that was just raised, which I think is a valid issue that Joanne raised, but that's just the background of how a nonprofit cooperative operates. The same is true if you're applying for brand new service. If you're out 5 miles out off section road and you're asking for service, you have to pay for that line extension. Right. So it's a similar, that's an exaggerated version of it, but it's the same basic principle.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so other thoughts, other comments? Do any of us think we want to ask to send it back to discuss the poll issue, or?
I kind of do. I'm looking at the San Miguel Power Association's annual report, and the financials in here are significantly more sturdy than towns, and I believe that they can bear that relocation cost significantly more than the town of Ridgway, just based on these financial numbers.
Because the thing that occurs to me is that if the pole is in the town right away, historically, and needs to be moved for some infrastructure reason or another, kind of makes sense that, it shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? Maybe not, but there's logic to saying that isn't the same kind of thing. It's not on private property, but what does everybody else think?
I mean, who chose with the polls in the town or SMPA?
I think that's probably a case by case basis.
Right. I think it was probably as many things in Ridgway where it was like, that's good.
Exactly.
It lines up with the other one over there. Well, what do we think?
So Joanne felt like that's not normal, and Bo said the ones he looked at it was the language was smaller. Consistent.
So am I understanding that basically the up to $150,000, they're just gonna pass it on to SMPA members in Ridgway? Is that, like, am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, I felt like the two lines were saying just opposite.
I know, I'm like, I need a flow chart, actually, is what I need.
You want a chart?
I want a chart.
That's the estimate. Exceeds 150, we pay in excess of 150 the actual cost causes the balance 6150, the town is not responsible. It feels like those are saying opposite things.
Well,
Maybe it's not
they're
reading
talking,
right.
they're talking about recovery, which is basically is recovered. Am I right, attorney? Is that a way of passing on a cost?
Yeah, one thing that's not being recognized in the conversation is that the SMPA collects a franchise fee
Yes.
from every member and returns that back to the town, and we use it at our own discretion. And theoretically, that pot of money can be used for these kind of things. Now, the town has chosen to put it in the general fund, and it's not earmarked it like some other towns do for sustainability measures and things of that nature. Right now, it just goes in the general fund. So there is a source of funds to help mitigate some of these costs if we choose to use those funds that.
It's good to know.
And collected by every member, each of us pays a franchise fee on our electric bill. It comes back as a pass through from SMPA directly back to the
So
town.
this is stating though that SMPA could choose to raise that franchise fee,
Cover a particular cost.
to
This
cover a
happened-
particular cost.
This recently happened in Telluride. We're building some big building, and it was gonna be a significant cost to SMPA. SMPA negotiated to just be added to the cost of the franchise fee until it's paid for. It's a small, penny or something, I remember, per month, that eventually gets paid off, and then it gets reduced. But again, I'm trying not to represent.
Yeah.
We appreciate your insight.
Yeah, very much.
So, from staff's perspective, we're happy to take it back to SMPA and present these concerns, and then to the extent that SMPA wants to have a representative kind of outlining why that can't be accomplished before the council, we can certainly make that request as well.
Well, it couldn't hurt to ask.
Well, this is considered an emergency. What define why it's considered an emergency, just because it's expired?
It's not expired. I think SMPA's desire would be to have it done sooner rather than later. So if it's not an emergency, it's a first and second reading. And our goal was just to update this. And because it's relatively fresh that we updated the October 2023 when we did the first ordinance, we're just trying to tie on. But the goal was frankly just to kind of short circuit having to do the first and second reading.
Well, what do we think?
I do think there is it's interesting that ours was different than our neighboring communities in the co-op. I don't know whether that means I just think we should agree to be the same as everybody, but it is interesting if our franchise agreement is different than our neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other question that comes up here is how frequent is this kind of to have to move a pole? What's the regularity of that? Have we had issues with having to move poles? Just for formality's sake,
I would
I will
say that-
reopen public comments
Yeah.
and Wayne can respond.
It's probably been a couple of years since we've had to have one moved, and we've had a lot more issues with needing to move the fiber, and that's covered in their encroachment permit, so it's not been an issue. I'm trying to remember the last time we moved a pole.
It was the Lena North project.
Yeah.
That was
So
the first
3 years.
one time in my time.
And who paid for that?
We didn't tell anybody.
And a lot of times that's the way relocations work. If we keep
I don't know.
is
Yeah, I guess I'm less concerned if it's something that happens every couple of years.
I think the intent of this, as I read it, was more about written into the franchise agreement, maybe it's written here, I didn't see it. The town of Ridgway is desiring that all new construction be underground and potentially the overhead gets moved underground. And this is a means to clarifying that. So I don't think it's so much about the pole thing. Moving the poles is maybe 2 hours at 150 miles an hour and an auger truck, so it's not really.
Yeah, I read it as like, if we start thinking wildfire management and we say, not on our watch, we need to underground all power. That's how I read it until you mentioned moving poles.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, the relocation, was the word that bothered me.
yeah,
Yeah, that I agree, the undergrounding isn't fair.
yeah,
And then to one of your concerns about being equal to our neighbors, I haven't read anybody else's SAMPA agreement. I deal with people that are in DMEA and people that are on the similar. And so,
okay.
yeah.
Sounds to me like it's kind of an issue.
Yeah. And given that, I would be willing to move to approve the emergency ordinance number 01-2024.
Second.
All right, motion made by Russ, second by Ms. Lincoln. All in favor?
No,
Opposed?
Yeah, it never has a missing.
All right, thank you. That takes care of that one. That brings us to policy matters. Item number 15, local permit for use of public right of way through use of sidewalk for service of alcohol beverages. Alcoholic beverages adjacent to the Harvard Restaurant at 185 William Street. And
So this is a revocable permit, allowing right of way to serve alcohol on a public sidewalk. We have a number of these in town. They're all held through a revocable permit. They are attached to the liquor license. And in this case, we've got one for the application just approved tonight for Ridgway Hospitality for the Hearth. So this would be in front of the Hearth Restaurant, facing on North Lena Street, from the building face to the street. But that does not include 6 feet of open pedestrian passage, which is required for ADA. So that is what this is. Correct.
you say does not include, you mean it delineated 6 feet to allow.
They cannot take the tables from their restaurant all the way to the street.
Perfect.
They have to leave them.
Just verifying, I was understanding it. Yeah.
all right,
Maybe it's not that.
any questions on this one?
No questions.
Any questions in the audience? Make motion?
Move to approve the revocable permit for use of the right of way by Fuego Hospitality Company LLC.
Second. Made by Gus, second by Russ, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimously, thank you. Item number 16 is revocable permit for use of right of way through use of sidewalk for service of alcoholic beverages, just like before, adjacent to the Kismet Cafe at 618 Point.
Correct, this is the exact same type of permit. There's an existing liquor license at 618 Clinton Street, the Kismet Cafe. And they would like to place tables and chairs on the sidewalk from their existing patio out. And with the understanding that they have to have a 6-foot passageway for ADA compliance.
Yes. Okay, any questions on this one? Any deal?
I move to grant the revocable permit for use of right of way to Wick Coffee Company LLC.
Second.
Oh, you're so gentlemanly.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by Polly. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 17, modification of liquor license premises for a communal outdoor dining area. Creative, Colorado Boyd Pub and Brewery and Charbonneau Theater, 602 and 604 Clinton.
So yes, this is a new license that's allowed under the state statutes. And both the Colorado Boyd and the Charbonneau are asking to create this communal outdoor dining area. It will be located on the public right of way adjacent to the 2 premises, which is 602 and 604 Clinton Street. They both have revocable permits with the town to sell alcohol on a public right of way. This will modify the 2 existing liquor licenses and will again affect the fact that there has to be the 6-foot passage. They have complied with everything that's required by the state, which is they have to be located within 1,000 feet of the permanent licensed premises. They have to submit an application and a fee. There has to be a security and control plan and general liability and liquor liability insurance for the communal outdoor area. So we have all of that, and I think this is something that they wanted to see happen for a long time, and it will help them, I know, in keeping control more of how alcohol moves on the sidewalk, one location to the other.
So this is a new license they just created?
So there won't be that sign at call.
No.
No liquor beyond.
It would go to the end of the Sherman now.
Okay.
Well, or actually, no, I should take that back. It will go to the 610 collective.
Yes.
Because the 610 collective is licensed under the Sherman license. That's why there are, is a seating area.
So there's another way to prove.
So
They not include it yet. up to-
in essence, if someone purchased provisions and chose to be in this communal dining area and Kismet, well, Kismet is an open.
They are now.
They are now.
They are now.
Oh, they are, okay, so it could, if they wanted to get into the communal license and follow all these other things that are required, it could be licensed. Good.
We're up to the code.
I will joked. I
moved to approve
let's do this.
the modifications to liquor licenses in question to approve the communal outdoor dining area. Second.
Damn, give it to him.
Boy, everybody's enthusiastic about these liquor.
I have been wanting this for a very long time.
Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations.
It's a good thing. It's good that they
I'm
finally.
in.
So motion made by Beth, seconded by Russ. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Apologies, I didn't ask for public comment. If anybody want to make comments on this, if anybody does now, they still can. We have a few people in the room here. Item number 18, approval of use of rights of way for annual rally through the alley event on September 29th between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m.
This is come before you for a number of years. The request is to use the alley beginning at Amelia Street between Charles and Clinton, down North Mary Street to the alley between Clinton and Sherman, and arriving at Town Park. The event is on September 29th, and there will be crossing guards or crossing people at each of those intersections. And there'll be signage also. And the event, I believe, is from, no, 9 to 12.
92.
92.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
I had fond memories of Patrick in his bathing suit.
And so I move to approve use of the rights of ways for the Rally in the Alley event on September 29th.
Second.
All right, motion by Beth, seconded by Polly. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to item number 19, review and action on second amendment to development agreement between Lena Commons LLC and town of Ridgway. Oh.
So, thank you goes to Mr. Neal as well for kind of paying attention to this issue. But in essence, as the council may recall, Lena Street Commons has what are called statutory vested rights. When the project was initiated in 2018, the developer came in and said, hey, we'd like to have the approvals that we obtain through this process be maintained through the development process or until what was then envisioned as being perhaps just the end of the development process, June of 24. So in the event the town amends its town code, which it has done, amending Title VII, everything that we've received approvals on would remain in place. And so those vested rights are set to expire. And staff has been in a conversation with the developer, and the developer wishes to have the vested rights extended as per the amendment presented in the board packet. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Can these rights be sold if the project's sold? Or would they start
They
over?
can be yes, they can be transferred.
Does the applicant have anything they want to add? Hi, Tom Kennedy. I'm here for Lynette Commons LLC. We're actually trying to get a liquor license. Just to be zipping through this. So I agree with the analysis and the presentation that was done. We're a little different than the project that you were looking at earlier in the extensions for the Ridgway Industrial. We do have the preliminary approvals done. We've done all the infrastructure. We've platted the property. And we've built out 2 of the buildings. We have a third, the A buildings, which are the commercial units, and then 2 remaining residential buildings, that are left to do. As the development agreement, part of the reason we did that was we were spending a lot of money on the infrastructure work before we could do the final platting. And typically the final platting lets you get building permits and start constructing. So that was the large reason that we did the development agreement. And as part of that process, we established some kind of benchmark expectation dates for when we're going to be building up the project. And it was tied to actually when we record the plat. So in some of the instances, the phasing that we're talking about now is still in line with what some of those dates are. And in some it gets moved a little bit further. But in any event, we're envisioning starting committing to being in the next round of projects, which includes building E, which is where this employee housing units are. That's the next thing to do. And the commitment is to be starting that by 2026. In reality, if the environment and circumstances are solid, and economic conditions and things like that, we'll actually be probably doing it as early as next year. So the 2026 date and the later date for the last remaining residential project in 2027, those are just in case something goes differently. But that's what we're looking for. We also, because we put the infrastructure in and we've done a considerable amount of the construction of the project, we probably have common law vesting rights because we've acted on permits and approvals. So the statutory vesting together with the common law vesting rights that we have, I think continue the expectations of being able to build out the project like it had been approved and like some of the buildings have already occurred. And the insertion of the dates and the deadlines just help us all be thinking about it and managing how we're approaching it. So with that, I'm available for any question that you might have.
I guess when I first saw this, I was concerned about the lengthy extension, especially given that we've already previously allowed the employee housing to be moved to a later phase, and for that to not be happening until 2026 potentially is concerning to me. I guess I don't know if anybody else share that concern.
I feel the same.
I just that 2028 number, and then the 2026 seems like putting off the much needed employee housing further than we'd like to see happen. So I don't know if there's any room for negotiation on that point or not.
So again, our thinking is that we would like to be started next year. We're asking for the 2026 outside date, just to make sure, it's not entirely sure what's going to be happening with the economy, and things of that.
Was that is the concern. Then should the economy change, does the affordable housing that was negotiated as part of this plat process get put off indefinitely? That is the concern.
So I think it's the start date, committing to it next year. The commitment is to get it started by 2026. And your point is, could we up that to 2025? Okay.
We come forward.
I vote. I hear your concerns. I just don't know. You know, I think the economic environment right now has put the cost of development so high that you know, it's concerning, not only for your, you know, affordable group of pool of buyers, but for me as a developer. So I'm hoping that there is some movement in the next year. A year and a half, 2026, so that we could do this before that date, but I just don't know. But I'm committing to that date.
So you'll be constructing building E and building A simultaneously?
We'd like
these
to
dates?
do it all in a phased approach, yeah, once we start.
All three of them.
All three, we'd like to do all three in a phased approach.
Well, yeah, you.
But he's committing to A and E.
I see that, they just have the same commence by date for E and A, so it's asking if they're planning to build.
It's the outside date. In perfect world, he'd build all three at the same time. But if it did get broken out, we knew that we needed to do the building E ones next.
Yeah. So that would, those two A and E pads would come before D, which has an outside date of 2027.
There's no employee units in
Yeah, that's all.
That's E, that was the commitment. Make sure we did that next.
Okay, got it.
All right, anybody else have questions for these guys?
No questions. Feds didn't raise rates today. Or no. Neutral news, they didn't do anything, but.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks.
Thanks,
guys. So what's everybody's doing?
I think there's value to completing projects that we've approved, and so. I think. We want to see affordable housing happen, but. Completing a project generally is best.
And I agree. I think what they're telling us is that if we want to, you know, in some way require them or ask them politely to move up that date, that the building's going to be more expensive and it's going to be more expensive. I think that's to me, that's the trade-off. So if they think they can do it by May 26th and hopefully sooner, I think that's probably the most comfortable solution. We can hope for, unfortunately. Building costs have skyrocketed since this project was first proposed, that's for sure. Any other comments? Somebody want a motion?
I'll move to approve the second amendment to development agreement between Main Street Commons LLC and the town of Ridgway.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Terry, seconded by Cal. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, takes us to number 20, review and action on third amendment to memorandum of understanding between Erie County and the town of Ridgway concerning annexation of Erie County's properties located at 1 Mall Road.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is another amendment before you to an existing memorandum of understanding. I think it dates back to 2017 between the town and Erie County. It concerns the planning and annexation of Erie County's property at 111 Mall Road. That address is where the county's transfer and recycle station sits. That's where the county's land use department is housed. I think Road and Bridge is in there too, maybe some other uses. If approved, this amendment, it would extend the deadline for completing the annexation agreement another 5 years to June of 2029. The county, according to Connie, county manager, the county is just now engaging the services of an engineering firm to begin working on facility planning. Staff has no concerns with the request, but happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks, Preston. Anybody have any questions or you around the?
Not for the initial, but I think for the extension, the access and charges.
I mean, for those of you who are newer to council, and may or may not be aware that the county property is in Holden, totally surrounded by town Ridgway boundary property, and there's been talk for years about having them annex and fall under, all of our rules and regs. But it's been extended a couple of times, and the pros and cons about whether or not it's really important that it gets done sooner than later is certainly up for debate. So, I mean, this is another one where do we really need another 5 years? Should we make that a little shorter? I'm not sure I feel strongly one way or the other. Happy to hear what you guys think.
I hear you. Don't know if we need another 5, but also I would really like to, maintain our good relationship with the county. And this makes me feel less bad than other things.
Less bad's a good thing.
Makes me feel less not okay.
What else? It is a long time.
I mean, if they said they just started engaging engineers when they started this process, like what happened in the last 5 years that it took them 4.5 years to start engaging?
They did a massive
So
planning process.
COVID, they had, they did their, Jake Neese is on here from Erie County, but their restoration of the courthouse was a big project. They've been doing some
Yeah,
pretty big projects.
you just worry they could get 5 more years, if the priority stays low if there's still a 5 year, I don't feel strongly.
$19 million sewer treatment.
I just don't, that's a 5 year deadline, that's cool. Wow.
That's
Jake, you have anything you want to add?
If you want to, there was the pandemic that happened in the last 5 years. I wasn't on the council. I see this was originally signed in 2017, so I don't know what was going on that hung it up at that point. We did get contracted with someone to do our facility planning, and we're having our initial meetings, and I hope that we can have that finished by the end of the year. So this isn't just kicking it down the road with no intention of doing anything.
Good to hear. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah. That's fine.
Is there an action item to this?
Yeah, I moved to approve amendment 3 to the MOU regarding 111 Mall Road.
Second.
Motion made by Beth, seconded by Terry. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. That takes us to number 21, which is consideration of awards bid for the Ridgway Athletic Park parking lot project. Preston.
Thank you, Mayor. So this one's exciting. There's no one in the room. I received 2 bids in response to the request for bids solicitation. One was from Haynes Excavation Inc., just north of $268,000 to complete the scope of work. Second one from Ridgway Valley Enterprises Inc., a little bit north of $126,000 to complete the scope of work. Staff is recommending the council award the project to Ridgway Valley. They are based out of Montrose, They've completed several projects for the town in the last several years. Staff feels like they're a good fit to complete this type of project. Something high profile like this, just on the heels of the master planning process for the athletic park and that first step, if you will. The company president, John McCollum, has said that if awarded, they would intend to start really soon. That would be next week. The project was identified as a capital improvement project in this year's budget. Estimated cost of $100,000. The bid that from Ridgway Valley that staff is recommending, obviously, it's well above that. Feeling that the general fund can accommodate that. We've already had some conversations with Mr. McCollum, president of Ridgway Valley, about ways to bring that number down, which we plan to pursue or evaluate further. Just talking with Joanne about this earlier. Regardless, we're comfortable with the bid amount and hope to bring that down as the project moves forward. So
great.
Well, it's awesome to have this moving forward since it's phase one of the entire project. So,
Let it be known, we are moving forward.
I move that we authorize staff to begin negotiations with Ridgway Valley Enterprises.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made by Joseph, second by Beth. Any other discussion?
and if I may, just to clarify, the motion could say, begin negotiations, execute the construction contract, and set the contract price not to exceed.
Yes, sorry, the entire motion, yes. Want me to read the whole thing?
Just to, so moved, I think would capture
So
the
moved.
spirit of what I just said.
The second stands.
Motion's been seconded and clarified, and the seconder is in favor of the clarification, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, thank you. That takes us to the award bid for Ridgway Space to create resilience of microgrid project. Another exciting.
This one is also exciting. In response to the request for quote solicitation, the town received 3 bids. First one from Alternative Power Enterprises, Inc., just north of 63,000. Cam Electric, 80,000, and Shaw Solar, just north of 79,000. All 3 of these quotes satisfy the requirements that were laid out in the solicitation and the requirements of the microgrid system, which I won't pretend like I fully understand. But after careful review of the quotes, staff is recommending that the award for the Ridgway Space to Create Resilience Hub microgrid project go to Alternative Power Enterprises, Inc., which is based out of Ridgway. Staff feels are a good fit to complete the project. From a budget perspective, project was identified in the CIP 2024, estimated cost of $70,000 to support the project. SMPA, when I say SMPA, I mean Terry Schuyler, applied for a grant from DOLA, their microgrids for community resiliency program. And the grant was awarded in the amount of $46,900 to offset that total cost that we estimated, and now we're at a lower amount than what we budgeted. And subsequent to that award, the town just a few months ago entered into an MOU that governs kind of the specifics and the working relationship between SMPA and the town that was necessary to make sure we got the contract from DOLA correct. That was a project right there. And in addition to the MCR grant, again, huge kudos to Terry. We will be hopefully seeking a clean energy tax credit once that MCR grant has been paid out and fully administered, which can lower the cost of the project even further, obviously. But I mean, to where the town may only be out of pocket, somewhere between, I'm making this up, but somewhere between $7,000 and $11,000. That's a guess. But
Which I spent on my house. It's great.
happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Preston. This is a really cool thing. It's big kudos and thank you to Gary for all his hard work on this. And I'm really excited that APE had the low bid, being usually a local company, so everything about this is really exciting.
I'm going to recuse myself from the vote this time. I'm so involved. Although stand the financial benefit.
Okay,
I move to authorize staff to expend budgeted funds and to execute a contractor services agreement between the town of Ridgway and Alternative Power Enterprises, Inc. for the Ridgway Space Debris Resiliency Hub microgrid project at a price not to exceed $63,875.
Second that.
all right, motion by Russ, second by Beth. Any other discussion? Are you all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for all your work, Terry.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Terry.
awesome. It's really huge.
Cool when it's installed.
That'll get installed this year.
Oh, yeah. A little more background, the solar was part of the microgrid, whereas the solar is intended to charge the battery during extended outage. The solar will offset the electric use of that facility and basically zero out the energy bill that the town is, I think the town is paying on that space. So the solar is a net metered solar system as well as the recharge for the battery system. And the battery is designed for a day and a half's worth of the average load that room. So without any solar recharger, 1.5 days of storage.
That's cool.
Great.
All right, well, that's just really, really great. And item number 3 is in response to us approving that, we need to have an action request for authorization for me to execute an easement agreement between the town of Ridgway and our space limited partnership in the installation of the resilience hub microgrid project because they are the building. Well, you want us to do that?
Yeah, that would be great, Mayor. So I think you did a great job introducing that agenda item. Preston and I have had conversations with ArtSpace, Ridgway, their legal counsel and land representative. And I think for the most part, everybody's on the same page. It doesn't appear that there will be any issues with the easement concept itself. It's just a matter of working with our other partners, primarily Chaffa, the bank or the mortgage lender on the property to get the easement details finalized. But there's a sample included in the packet, and because I think at the staff level and at the Space to Create level, we'd like to try to get some momentum and get started on the project. The request is that the council authorize the mayor to enter into an easement agreement, mirroring for the substantial terms the sample that's included in the packet.
Thanks, Bo. Any other questions for Bo or staff on this? Pretty straightforward.
One little nuance, it refers to the easement on the roof. In addition to that, the battery system is going to be placed in the utility room inside the building. So I don't know if the future easement needs to make mention of those 2 spaces. Roof and utility.
They received good thought. We'll verify that. We sent them the design based on what APE provided. So they're the whole package, so they should be aware that it goes beyond just a roof. But that's a good point. I'll make sure that's.
Is that something we'll need to add? Motion?
Good question. I think the motion would be the spirit of what we're talking about.
I move that we authorize Mayor John Clark to execute an easement agreement between the town and ArtSpace Ridgway in partnership for the installation of the Space to Create Resilience Hub microgrid project.
Second.
All right, motion by Beth, second by Polly, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously. Next up is ratifying the letter I wrote for Ashley Perkins at the Ridgway Area Chamber of Commerce, recommending there's something in between that. Update, discussion, and possible direction regarding process of vacating public right of way. Item number 24. Vote.
Thank you, Mayor. And frankly, we don't have, I don't have much for this agenda item. It's a follow-up from the discussion which we had in May. After doing some additional research, the approach is frankly probably going to be something where we're not vacating the right of way, but we're just rezoning it. And so that's likely an amendment to the plat and getting the parcel surveyed and platted out. And so we're still entertaining some conversations at the staff level with respect to what exactly that process might look like, and then we'll come back to the council. One thing that I think the town manager probably wants to talk about is that staff has initiated the process in terms of securing the town area. So giving notice to the surrounding property owners with respect to, if there are encroachments into North Elizabeth, that those encroaches need to be moved or relocated.
So as I recall, Brian has a shed that's actually in that area.
Correct. Councilor Brian used to have a fence that has been removed and has a revocable encroachment permit for the shed you're talking about. In conversations with some area property owners somewhat recently, I'm wondering, and we're all wondering, if there's an appetite on the town council's part to close off that undeveloped section of right of way, specifically from Charles Street to the alley. There's a sentiment by some property owners around there, haven't gauged it from all the neighboring adjacent property owners, but there's a sentiment that it may be beneficial in some ways and would improve quality of life in some ways.
It's being used as a pass-through very frequently. It's being used as a parking spot for a particular vehicle on a regular basis. It's either the reason the idea around vacating the right of way and potentially creating a lot came out of it is we spend a lot of time saying we don't have land to donate to the affordable housing effort. But if we never intend to develop this right of way, as was indicated in our staff report last month, this lets us solve it eventually in a way that's not just blocking off public property, but it is kind of an odd use of public property as is right now.
How did those discussions with landowners go?
I have not spoken with all area landowners, but there's a couple in particular that I have talked with frequently, but which prompted the question, and it went well. Part of the ongoing conversations and issues that have been happening. When I say ongoing, I mean for quite some time now, eight years. So, based on the outcomes here, certainly we'll look to talk to all the neighboring property owners in more detail, provided that there's a path forward, at least so they know and are aware that these conversations are happening. Potential for modifying, an undeveloped section of right of way that currently is not maintained, used for parking by some, used as a driveway by others. So, does that answer your question?
I do think we're at a point where we have to act one way or another, whether it's blocking off or some more enforcement of our what we can, like, we can have discussions about what that action looks like, but I do think
it's time.
I think it's time that we act on it.
So, for instance, we could put up a split rail fence at Charles, along the right of way of Charles, and then next to the alley at the south end of that stretch.
Yeah.
A little opening for pedestrian walk through, but make sure that it's
The
not.
gap at the sides.
Yeah, so people walking dogs or riding a bike can get through.
Right.
Yeah. But I really, we talk a lot about housing affordability, and you're talking about a lot that's in the middle of a block. So all your utilities have already been run. You know, this would be a really cool discussion to have with the Home Trust to see if they'd be interested in partnering, because I know we don't want to be a developer, but this could be a really great partnership moment.
It's 60 feet wide, so it's.
More than adequate.
So is everybody agreeable to at least doing the split fence?
Yeah.
For now, and then. Okay, staff to continue discussions on other options, like approaching the Home Trust, so.
Yep.
Interestingly, I just heard today that the Home Trust is looking at the, Alpenglow property.
Oh, interesting. Sorry.
So is that all you need from us on that?
I think so. Thank you for that, Bo. Is that everything you
Yep,
need?
thank you for that, and thanks for letting us provide a brief update, and we'll be back with more.
Great, thank you, Bob. All right, that takes us down to number 525, ratification of letter of support for the Ridgway Chamber of Commerce. Ash Perkins application to the Destination Blueprint Program to the Colorado Tourism Office. There was a kind of short turnaround on that. Ash reached out and I went ahead and sent the letter, and we're just asking for ratification of that. Letters in the back. Questions, comments?
Looks good.
Motion to ratify?
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Russ, second by Terry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Got it. Okay, what was the new item 26?
Water restriction.
Water restrictions, yes. Unfortunately, it's a good idea.
It's the same as it ever was. Much as I doubt, but like.
Same as it ever has been for a long time.
Same as it's likely to be.
So
It's so weird.
just for some background, 2018, resolution number 18-06 was approved by council. That's the Town of Ridgway Water Conservation and Management Plan. I apologize if this was a late request. Usually I have a memo and would include an exhibit, which would be that management plan, conservation and management plan. But this kind of came up in the last day or so. Our region currently isn't experiencing what I would call a significant level of drought conditions. Drought.gov shows Ridgway County the abnormally dry category, which is like that first category. It's like yellow. When it gets like orange and red, that's when it's like, holy shit. But like a quarter of the state is abnormally dry right now. And it's probably a little bit worse than it was this time last year, but it's a lot better than it was like the year before and the year before that. So just for the record, but our water production records show that production and consumption is increasing. That's natural in the summer, especially with irrigating water lawns, stuff like that. We're averaging somewhere around 260,000 gallons per day, which is on par with other summers. But we're just now starting today draw some water, starting to draw water from Lake O to keep up with consumption and such, and nothing concerning about that. But I feel my role, it's time to start promoting and educating folks, not educating, but encouraging folks to conserve where they can. Just something to do everyone. So that was the impetus for the item. Hope you all.
Yeah, and I would actually say that if I'm not mistaken, we don't necessarily see a huge change in our water use when we promulgate these restrictions voluntarily. And I think we could do another reminder, a little bit of an education outreach to say we're promulgating restrictions again. They're voluntary at this point, but the better we do with voluntary, the less likely it is that we have to do mandatory. And just remind people how serious the issue it is. I hate to admit it, but my wife's an avid gardener, so we use more water than I'd like to say, but we do follow the days of the week and the nighttime watering and the basics of it. So I just think we need to, especially with so many new people coming to town, we need to probably do another little bit of outreach.
Yeah.
But why we do it and what we.
Totally agree and happy to do that. And remember last month, we're now a member of Colorado Waterwise, and we have the Live Like You Love It campaign, which we can utilize as part of the those efforts, the educational efforts. And John knows this because I wrote him an email today about this, but I write in a very stiff and local government way. And I can use every bit of help I can in being creative and trying to encourage folks. Actually, it was Josie. It was Josie.
I think it was about me.
Yeah.
I love you, but yeah.
And I take no offense to that at all, but I can use all the help I can get. So that campaign would be helpful.
Cool.
Possible.
Okay.
Maybe it might be worth taking out another week in the paper, like be water wise. Come up with a cute little graphic in the paper.
Voting will add to it, yeah.
Gardeners are water wise.
Yeah.
And we need a motion for that, right?
Oh,
Please.
Yeah.
so moved.
We're talking, just so we're clear, we're talking about promulgating stage 1 water restrictions. Which is stage 1, those are voluntary, those are synonymous. Okay.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Just the state one thing. And one thing I want to say to your point, John, is, I take call at the water plant. I look at the water production and stuff. Last summer specifically, we didn't go into voluntary water restrictions till like July or August or something like that. We started putting out information, encouraging folks to dwindle their use. And there, last summer, I can't talk to the previous summers, but we noticed a drop in.
Oh, good. It's good. Why do we get bad now?
It's not always going to work, but I think that was a testament to.
Well, cool. I know from what John's talking about, there have been years we put water restrictions in place and the water consumption went up.
Well, this is also correlated with how hot it is. Like in a year where, yeah, water is low, but we're not boiling and people are like, oh, my plants are fine. Like, I think what we see is that you could probably almost correlate that increase in water use with temperature.
Yeah. And last year, I remember clearly, it was a very cool, wet spring, all the way to bluegrass. I mean, it's really hailed. Yeah, and the Sunday bluegrass had shifted to the kind of weather we have now. Like just overnight got hot, clouds. So it's coming earlier this year for sure.
I told my board I haven't looked at my lawn yet, and it's brown.
Okay.
It's like getting ready to go out of town for 3 weeks, is never like saving it, with water.
So I do need a motion to promulgate stage 1 water restrictions voluntary. So good.
Seconded. Sorry.
Basketball.
I just tried to make it.
Motion to arrest, second by Polly. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimously. Once again, thank you. That brings us to the town manager's report. Nice job, Polly.
Thank you.
That's a pretty good job.
I actually laughed a lot at that one and immediately sent a message to Preston and he laughed at my bad joke.
Thank you for continuing to submit. Ductile iron pipe replacement project. Town received the loan award in the amount of $600,000. That was approved this last Friday at the board meeting. Quick story. I think Kevin heard this story, but so they approved it on the consent agenda. Did I tell you the story? They approved it on the consent agenda first thing, like 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I stayed on just out of courtesy, just in case. And then at like noon, I had jumped off at noon. Aaron texted me and was like, "Where are you? You're supposed to be here." I thought it was approved. And so I jumped back on the meeting and they were like waiting for us to like
make a presentation.
Which was just, it seemed backwards, and inefficient, but regardless, very appreciative of their consideration and of the award, absolutely. So anyway, it was just interesting. But
in the end, it was all okay.
In the end, it was all okay as far as I know, but That's like if we approve something on the consent agenda, at the very end of the meeting expected, like. Whoever was on the consent agenda would talk about.
They still have to get your
Thing that
liquor
you already
license
did.
renewal.
Very strange. So are we gonna hopefully be, that's gone out to bid?
It's out to bid right now.
When's the bid open?
The pre-bid meeting is next Thursday, and I think bids are due the following Wednesday.
So exciting stuff, and very appreciative of the loan award and of course DOLA's grant award to support the project. GAC, another water project specific to water treatment. All of the equipment is starting to show up. You can see that big old tank with 3 different sections in there. We were just up there today measuring for where we have to pour the pad that has to go on. But that's going to be big deal here in the next few weeks and months, trying to get that in there and then doing all the piping necessary to make that treatment alternative, get it up and running, and then taking the chlorine dioxide machine off.
Is it a seamless transition, relative, in terms of water supply, or do you have to shut down the water for a period of time? Supply. Supply to the town.
We haven't thought that far.
That should be necessary. We need to install a meter downstream of the plant. We will rely on storage.
This is all prior to the storage tanks, so
Yeah,
that's what's really.
so we'll get everything in place and probably do the final connection. So. But yeah, that's moving forward. Let's see. It feels like it was a while ago, but some of y'all participated in the pickleball tournament put on by the Youth Advisory Council and the Ridgway Pickleball Club. Proceeds totaled $402.86. 50% of that went to the Dolphin House Child Advocacy Center, and the other 50% went to the Ridgway Pickleball Club. Just a huge shout out to the council, the advisory youth council. They picked the project and ran with it. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they did a good job.
They did do a good job. They were pretty stoked to be part of it. Neat to see.
John and I attended the most recent CML district meeting in Montrose. It was at the Trattoria de Sofia. Italian restaurant. It's wonderful, great attendance. Ridgway's hosting the next meeting in the fall. Which we're gonna need some good representation from Ridgway, like all of us, including Pam.
Who's gonna plan the party?
More specific than in the fall?
Good question. No, we don't know. CML picks the date.
Okay.
What we've done is we've reserved every day, every weekday in September. We'll know in September on the Decker Room calendar. We can host in the Decker Room. And then when they let us know what the date is, it'll be ready. Sorry. Sorry about that. Are you gonna be out of town or something?
September, I don't think so.
And then another CML when we have the conference, the annual conference coming up. I'll be at that next week.
I should have asked if any of you were interested in attending this. It's too late now, unfortunately. It's really fun, actually.
Just yell at me next year, because I see like it's after school is out and I just like blow past it.
I get all the emails and it's.
A couple more things. We had a great meeting last night in this room for the Green Street Park master planning meeting. And turnout wasn't as great as the first one. There was like 35, 40 people at the first meeting. Over the deck room, it was what, 20, 25 people last night. A great meeting. I say all that because there's a little message from, not a little message, but a message from Dave Jones, Chair of the Sustainability Advisory Board in here concerning the master planning process and scale of the solar array microgrid as an element, as a component of the final concept. And so the survey for the second and final survey was issued today. It was actually issued yesterday, put out the communications today. So we're trying to get as many folks as possible to opine on the three concepts that have been developed. And from that, as you all will remember with the athletic park master planning process, we'll get a final concept based on all the feedback. But that survey will be out through the end of this month. So. And then the last thing I'll mention, actually, no, three more things. Tri-agency dinner in a couple weeks in the DECA room. So that's June 27th. That's a Thursday. Just a reminder there.
May I interject? Has anybody gotten the new survey to actually work yet?
The Green Street one?
The one that was kicked off yesterday?
Oh, no, I haven't.
I couldn't get it last night. I've tried a few times today and I could get it to actually.
To like.
I can get the link that was in the manager's report.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it maybe didn't get made active on the,
Yeah.
it takes you to the Green Street Sustainability Park website. There's this new survey.
Yeah.
But there's no like, it's not like a live link.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, there it goes. No, I just really like teenager aggressively tap.
On a certain, in a certain spot on the teenager.
Like what, I always tell my students, I mean, pounding on the keyboard will make it go faster, but apparently just insistent.
Oh, you know what? 15 times a charm.
Kind of obnoxious. He had to like go across the bar to a very specific place on it and then click.
It's good to note though.
We'll see if we can fix it.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can fix it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good to
Thank
know.
you.
Thanks for that. And then reminders, June 25th, 3:30, joint work session with Erie County. and
So-
City, right?
Is there a Zoom link?
There's a Zoom link.
I mean, okay.
Yeah. I can maybe do one.
So just a reminder on that. It's to discuss housing services. It's a pretty broad topic, but Jake Neese has, Erie County has been working hard to, especially as the county's rep on the Home Trust of Erie County, to figure out the best way for all three agencies to proceed with housing services in this region. Considering that we don't currently have a housing authority. And so part of the conversation will be, well, as a housing authority, is it the right time to go down that route? That certainly may be part of the conversation. But currently we have the Home Trust of Erie County that's doing some great things and making some moves, and there's certainly an option. There's others too, but Home Trust is certainly an option for pursuing some of these housing services in a more collective and organic way. Last thing I'll mention, and I'll stop talking, is this transformative landscape change challenge application. This one kind of came out of nowhere. John and I attended the Colorado River District meeting a couple months ago and presented on our Growing Water Smart Action Plan. Melissa Willits with the Colorado River District introduced me to these folks with Resource Central, and I had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and they said, you know, actually, we'll haul off all that turf for you. We'll do all the work and haul it. Wow, they set up to 2,500 square feet, which is a lot less than what we have for our pilot area. But they said there may be some room for going above that or potentially accommodating our area. And so I put in an application for that. There may be a way to drop that, the whole cost of that project by way of that application. So stands up. That would answer your question.
Just a comment on the proposed space there. I was at the farmer's market Friday, I guess. You know, where the Sunshine Burrito puts his truck up there. Yep. I noticed there's a lot of people that when they buy their burritos, they're waiting to sit on that grassy knoll there. And it's like those guys. It's like one of the few places you can actually sit on the grass during the farmer's market. And it's just on the very north section of that identified space. So just FYI, one of the reasons, obviously the reasons for doing this project is to demonstrate, you know, good stewardship water use and so forth, but maybe that one little spot by that, on that knoll closest to the offices might be precluded.
Between the gazebo and the parking lot.
Yeah,
Would it
still have some grassy spot.
Would it be interesting?
We're just, you know, Preston and I talked about how when we get to the point where we're ready to actually design this and move forward, we're gonna have to get somebody like Horizon, and we can get a professional to come in and look at the area with us, pick the right, like, I was looking at this and thinking, you know, the turf area between the parking lot and the street makes more sense to be turned over than the part that's between the parking lot and the park.
Totally.
Right, we could do some of both.
Yeah, and I think
Or even on the very south corner there too.
honestly, as it is drawn, all of that is used for very like weird specific purposes, and that's one of those things where it'd be great to talk to the farmer's market. Do we need to kind of leave some space for some picnicking on the turf that we use all the time?
Right.
Versus saying, we have this one in once a week use of this turf that we water all year. Is there another place that we could kind of leave some space for?
The rendezvous
Eating.
uses that spot for like 10 to 15 tents. Just, we'll talk about it in the future as we go
Yeah.
forward, but
It's right up against the sidewalk. Yeah. And
There's
honestly,
a lot of room for flexibility in this. I drew this in paint.
nice work.
Just like kind of made it up, to be honest with you. So there's a lot of room for flexibility. We can take all that into consideration.
Anything else?
I went to our communities for climate action beginning of this week. It is one of the few non-depressing conversations you can have around climate change.
awesome.
Really, really great to connect with a whole bunch of folks throughout the state. If you don't know what Colorado Communities for Climate Action is, we're up to 44 counties and municipalities in the state advocating for policy change at state level using a collective voice. So John's done a bunch of testifying for them. It's a really awesome group of people. I have a sustainability scorecard I'd love to send you for sustainability advisory board that came out of town of Netherlands that someone told me about. It's pretty cool. Like score, how do you evaluate projects coming your way? This sustainability lens. It's an idea. Yeah.
Cool.
I've been to 2 chamber meetings since our last meeting, just the way the dates fell. The new liaison for the Chamber of Commerce. It's been really interesting, definitely learning a lot there too. Lots of discussion around the new agreement that the town council did with the chamber this year and different metrics they're supposed to be hitting and working on that kind of thing. Definitely one of their concerns was that the town had requested that the Chamber of Commerce building be staffed 7 days a week in the new contract. But it's very hard to find volunteers. A couple of volunteers that worked last year are gone this summer. So they are really struggling to staff that 7 days a week. And so just in terms of being the liaison, I would say that might be something that board wants to readdress, or somehow we need to get more community awareness that, like, hey, if you're a retiree, can you go donate, 3 hours on a Tuesday afternoon to help keep this open? Because one of the local business owners, Marty, who just opened Greenwood's Cafe, he's even donating like a morning of his time to go volunteer there because they just have, they just don't have help. And so just to put that on our awareness of our own schedules and our neighbors' schedules, if people want to help, and even basic stuff about Ridgway, they're desperately looking for help down there. Just trying to staff that the 7 days that the town requested. I think right now they're maybe 4 days a week, but.
I wonder if that's something to bring before the youth advisory.
Yeah, something like that. Community service hours for the youth or something. But that's something they were working on. It sounds like their online marketing has been going well. Their clicks are meeting all the metrics that the council set for them, that kind of thing. Lots of discussions as well about membership benefits, and obviously like the town wanting everyone to be promoted, but then there has to be some sort of special extra you get for being a member. Why would businesses join as a member? So they're working a lot on trying to pick that up. They did make this downtown walking map for Ridgway. And part of the compromise they came up with on that was they listed all of the businesses on back, but the ones that are members are in bold. So that way you're still like promoting all the businesses in Ridgway and giving a really good comprehensive look for a tourist who walks in and wants to walk all around town. But then, you know, your eyes are always drawn to the bullets of a little bit extra like marketing per se.
I could use that the other day. I was writing grants and trying to identify how many businesses. were
Yeah,
Ridgway.
the chamber has this down at the office, you want to look at
Yeah,
it.
but I couldn't find the stats on the website. So I
Yeah.
wish I had seen it.
And then they also did this partnership, I think, did the Crowd Venture Field Guide, I think they,
We got a grant, we got like a 35,000.
right, but then they presented this meeting a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But this is the final thing, if you guys haven't seen it,
Is it
so if you
awesome?
take a look, it's super cool.
Yeah, great.
They printed 9,000 of them, 4,000 of them are available in Ridgway, the other 5,000 are kind of a mix, they've gone to advertisers across the state, and they're keeping some to sell. Yeah, they're very cool, I'm not a biker, but they're, I see how if you're into
Yeah,
this
they
is a
they
very.
give them away at the, at Ridgway Venture Sports.
So, and they're kind of collectibles apparently, because these are in multiple areas, in multiple states, and so people who are really into biking actually collect them, so they turned out really cool. So that was neat.
There was a great party with the Jeep car going to.
Yeah, I heard about that. And they were having issues with their membership online, renewal payments not working, but they hope to have that working by Thursday or Friday, and they'll be really doing a big push to local businesses to get more people enrolled in the chamber again.
Kudos to the chamber.
Yeah, they've been working really hard.
Progress.
Gosh, there's a lot of good ideas and they added two new members. Yeah, both Tia and Nishi joined the chamber this past month, and they have another person interested. So they're almost at a full board for the first time in a long time. So it was a lot of really engaged discussions at the meeting on Monday.
Sounds like they're really stepping up based upon some of the subtle heat that we've.
Yeah, there's definitely a few things that I think everyone's gonna like realize at the end of the year, maybe need to be adjusted in expectations, but they were grateful in some of the guidelines that the council gave them, because they're like, yeah, these are metrics we need to know anyway, and they gave them to push to like figure that out. And I will say, the Catherine Johnson is the person she's been working on some of their marketing, whatever. I had asked her the last 2 months in a row don't just give me a packet saying, okay, we had 7,000 clicks last month. I wanna know how many did you have in May last year, and I wanna know how many you had year to date, January through June. She said she'd get that to me yesterday and she did not. So, I'm pushing back on her a little bit more on that, because I had the last 2 months in a row. But I do think she's doing a good job at driving more traffic, to the things. I saw a cool thing about like the rafting down the river last week that was on their Instagram. They neat stuff though.
Their Instagram is very good.
Yeah, it's much better, so, yeah, they're working hard.
I'll give a brief, SAP report. Sustainability Advisory Board Committee, we met on June 5th. Kudos to Preston for having pushed this into the vernacular, into the process of what was a brand new committee, and Deb's doing a good job of picking up the slack, but they're finally coalescing into having, structured meetings with deliverables and meeting minutes and coming up with action items. This last meeting actually had 5 agenda items besides approving the minutes. One was an update on the Green Street Park Master Plan and the discussion among the members to support the last meeting. And there's 3 of us there for that. And the climate action plan update, I think John, you and Preston probably had some input on updating the Ridgway's appendix to the cap. And so we reviewed that and we're looking at other possible updates. And pertinent to this, and be giving this report, one item was discussion already the process of communicating to the town council issues that come out of the meeting. And so I was interested to see that Dave's letter made it into your packet. I don't know if that was resulting from this agenda item, but there's a number of initiatives that the SAB is working on that they want to communicate to the town outside of me giving a verbal report. So we're going to be looking at a straw man process for how that can be achieved, whether it's a member of SAB or multiple members coming in during public comment, or whether it's an actual agenda item that they forward to Preston to get audience from the council. So working through some of the options there. Discussion over the last and future Ridgway Ride and Drive EV event. That was another agenda item. And then a process for tracking the pending actions that the committee is working on. And so they have a handful of actions that they're working on. One is the net zero resolution that they want to request to town council. board terms, they want to look at restructuring the actual board member positions and staggering terms and so forth. And an initiative around idling vehicles, putting some more meat on the bones to that, rather than just being a suggestion. Budget requests, code changes based on the new 2024 IEC solo budget ready code changes, handouts to builders and developers, educational materials. So I'm not going to go through them all, but there's a whole list of things that they're actually taking on now and trying to parse out and divvy out in one little mini subcommittee. So the committee would be happy to know it's starting to gel a little bit more than it was in the first 2 years. Were pretty chaotic. That's okay.
Great. I went to the Bald Mountain site tour on the 30th. National Forest and the National Park Association, National Forest Foundation, I mean, has been coordinating with some Western Wildfire Council, doing some controlled burns, some mastication clearing, some vegetation and a demonstration kind of wildfire mitigation effort, and it was really impressive. They're, the control burn they did in April, they came to the conclusion that it was 95% successful, which is like unheard of. It was like the perfect storm of, not storm, but perfect combination of circumstances where the materials that had been masticated had been exposed on the southwestern slope, so they dried out. The weather conditions were perfect when they decided to burn, and it just, the smoke blew east, and everything about it was just couldn't have gone more perfectly. So we got a great tour of that, and I'll forward this email that National Forest Service, I can't remember if it's the National Forest Foundation, but they've got some wildlife cameras up there, so there's pictures of mountain lion. I'll forward this email, it's that good information, and then I encourage them to do another public information session in the fall. I think they might do another burn in the fall, but most likely next spring again. And there's still some snow on the ground to help mitigate that. But I said it was always a good idea to kind of remind the public of what they're doing up there. And, one of my best examples of what a great job they were doing is, many of you know Robin Cascade and her level of concern about this kind of stuff. She was blown away by what a great job they did. She was extremely supportive of everything about it. And I would agree. I think they were interesting thing when they were talking about it. It's just, they were all kind of blown away by how well it had gone so far. So,
You hear of anybody who's concerned about it, remembering that Silverthorne got saved like 5-6 years ago. They had a very similar project where they'd done some work above town and fire did not come into town as a result. Like, it's really stressful to see smoke from town, but when it's planned.
Yeah, the control burned down on the ranch history property.
Yeah, well, that was some big.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was.
They neglected to let people know about that, unfortunately.
I did get a phone call from Nick and he was like, what is happening in town? And I was like,
I was coming into town, or was I coming back home? I was like, what?
I was riding out here and back into town. Anyway, that was an adventure. Anybody else have anything they want to report? Thanks, Shane, for the traffic.
yes, that's really.
68 miles an hour. Somebody came to fence.
Yeah.
Someone's been blowing into town from.
No shame. No shame.
Basically got it.
Yeah, it wasn't on the long.
Somebody was late for something.
But it was interesting that 2/3 of vehicles are speeding at either moderate or extreme level on full.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting spot right there. Kind of why I wanted to highlight it.
I did appreciate the note on the utility billing this month. It was like, drive safely and you'll help like the traffic pattern go.
I know, I was like, was I targeted for this?
I know, I was like,
Did she get got these messages?
Did you see that turn onto Amelia Street and just go all the way through town?
It worked.
I totally know. Oh, I was doing it all the time.
That's so weird. Well, it's impressive that the red and blue lights that go off when you're over
Yeah.
speeding, that catches people's attention.
Yeah, it does get effect. I've watched you know, off. Watched it. Does have an effect. It was like when we first got the radar signs. They had a real strong effect on, now people get used to them, especially commuters. And so they don't pay attention to it as much, but the red and blues, and they're bright and.
Yeah.
They've freaked me out a couple of times, like turning onto the street, like. I'm not on the gas, I'm just like slowing down, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
I had that conversation today with, oh God, I'm sorry, just turning. Don't be mad.
Shit, you don't have a billboard you can hide behind like Smokey that.
Yeah. And we're also.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thanks, Joanne.
Working with a company that I share her at the Chiefs Conference that will come in and do a traffic study of that area for school crossings and pedestrian crossing there. If we choose to go through the study and then implement program in order that's no cost to them. So I'm gonna be looking into that, talking to them, kind of see would be advantageous.
Awesome, thank you. Anything else? Unless I hear something, we are adjourned. Thank you. I forgot to mention, there's also a really cool story map from ArcGIS put together.
Is that linked in the email?
Yeah. How to give it 7 o'clock, that's awesome.